sun comes up and the sun goes down. The girls on the street keep walking around. I just go out and it's already quiet in town. Game gets tedious, don't it? My feet are sore but I don't care. So I sit on a bench, I'm not going nowhere. I could pop home to wash my hair, but that's just wasted effort. My status crashed, getting lower and lower. Haven't been laid for a month or more, but I've read on blogs and it's true, I'm sure, that too much game will weaken you. I open a girl and she's listening. I try to speak but I'm mumbling again. I talk too fast and I fail to grin, just one damn thing after another. So, welcome to a Womanizers Bible podcast. This is a rare video one, just because we're fucking about with my new camera. So, I am Nick Krauser, the beautiful one, and I'm here with my travel buddy of the last week, which is Eddie from Street Attraction, also a well-known and well-recognised day gamer. Literally well-recognised, as we found on the street
a few
this
days
week.
ago. Yeah, actually, 2 days ago.
Right, so what we wanted to talk about in this podcast, by the way, I'm aware I'm looking at the screen and not the camera, I'll try and correct that. Anyway, we wanted to talk a little bit about travel because it's the end of August now, I believe 31st. So the European travel season, the Euro jaunt season, is kind of drawing to a close. We've got September, we've got October, and then it kind of starts to get a bit cold. So I've been on the road on and off since middle of March. Eddie, how about yourself?
Since last October, like properly hitting it intensely, where I'll be spending more time on the road than in London.
So winter, you did winter on the road?
Yeah.
You were actually here in winter, weren't you?
I was here in February in the west of Ukraine, and I was in Oslo and Hønefoss in Norway in December. So
Oslo, fuck me.
Poland in January. I mean, I've been to Poland back and forth many times.
Yeah, well, why don't we?
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing the personal info, why don't you just rattle off your travel since October? You know, where have you been in order?
Yeah, so I've been to Krakow 8 times, Warsaw 3 times, Belgrade 3 times, Zagreb 2 times, the Croatian coast 2 times, Bosnia a few times, Slovenia twice, the west of Ukraine, Portugal, Porto, I'm trying to remember, but yeah, quite a few places, and I'll be going to a lot more. I'll be going to more exotic places from next month.
So I imagine what my viewers are thinking right now is, how do you find the suckers to pay for this? No, I mean valued customers.
Yeah.
Right. So we're in Kiev right now. This is day 7 for Eddie.
Yeah.
And it is day 10, I think. These are 10 or 11 for me. I actually had a student here, my one student of the year I had, who you heard on a previous podcast. So what we wanted to talk about today is the ups and downs of travel. Now, don't get us wrong, this is fucking fantastic. We love it. That's why we live it. But it's not all unicorns and rainbows, is it?
It's not. I mean, there are downsides. Like with anything, there are always upsides and downsides. But with travel, I mean, obviously, I think for me there are more upsides. If there weren't more upsides, I wouldn't be doing it. But did you want me to talk about the downsides first?
Well, how about this? We'll get into that. But why don't you just start a little bit on the practical side about how you made the decision to start living like this, and what you had the problems you had to solve to enable it. I mean, you don't have to give away too many secrets of your business, just broad strokes. And psychologically, what was it like making that step to like, right, I'm going to do this nomadic traveling thing?
Yeah, so basically, so obviously started with me deciding to start my own business. So I've been doing pickup full time for the last 2.5 years. Never looked back since. My only regret is not having started my own business earlier. Before going full time, I was working for the NHS. Had an office job. I decided to quit that. I should have been fired, to be honest, because towards the last few months I was really uninspired. I mean, I started off working really hard, but then I could see that the organisation,
Public sector strips your work ethic, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So
So you were working for the man.
yeah, I was working for the man, exactly.
Like they say, you're either building your own empire or you're building someone else's.
Exactly. And no, I just got sick of it. I would turn up to work late, finish early, do very little, and then still I wasn't fired, and I decided, no, I can't do this. You know, I think I started to lose some self-respect, you know, and so I thought, fuck this, I'm leaving this, and I'm gonna find something to do, you know, full time. I'd already been coaching for a while anyway, so I've been in pickup since the end of 2005. So
Street attraction's been around a while, hasn't it?
it has been, yeah. I mean, the YouTube channel launched on the 1st of January 2012, but we're doing some stuff before then. So
That's nearly
but-
4 years.
yeah,
Just
but
for the channel.
but I wasn't doing it full time when I started. I was doing the NHS stuff and the street attraction. So I decided, fuck this. I'm gonna pack it all in and work for myself, even if it meant making less money but having more freedom. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a baller, far from it, but what I do have is a hell of a lot more freedom and time, and that's what's most precious to me, actually.
It started in London, though, right? You haven't been doing the travel the whole time. I think, if I remember right from your early channel stuff,
Yeah.
most of it was London, and then you started dropping in the occasional
Yes.
little trips out, right?
Yes.
Whereas now it's pretty much flipped the other way. Now you're on the road more, and the London stuff
Yes.
is the
Yeah.
unusual variety,
Yeah.
right?
I think soon we'll have to do a video called How to Get Laid in London.
So, like, I guess right now, sitting in Kiev, you're pretty keen to get back to London and the hotties on the streets of Oxford Street, right?
yeah.
My regular wing, he must be sick. I messaged him today, but no WhatsApp tick. He's gone dark, acting like a dick. There's something cockeyed somewhere. There's a dirty t-shirt on my kitchen floor. It's been there for a month or more. And tidying my flat feels like such a chore. There ain't a darn thing in there. My best mate's scowling, so forlorn. Laziest man that ever was born. He's scowling cause I deleted his porn. I need someone out here with me. My posture's bad and I smell of beans. There's a hole in the crotch of my top man jeans, and I don't know what any of this all means. Just can't depend on nothing.
I've been on the road for about 3 weeks, and I still don't miss London, really. Not for pickup anyway. I do miss it. I miss the family and my mates, but that's it. Definitely don't miss the city nor the girls.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit maybe about the pattern of your travel? Because you do it a little differently to me. What I normally do, because I've tried travelling alone and I don't like it. What I usually do is I try to stitch together holidays with friends. I'll find friends I want to hang out with, and then what I'll do is I'll have a rough plan of when I want to go to different places. I'll canvass my friends and say, look, do you fancy a trip around this time in this area? And then what will eventually happen is things start slotting into place. So this trip for me, I wanted to try Kiev, so Eddie was up for it, and another guy, German guy I know, he was up for it, so he came out. And before that, in Warsaw, I know a guy in Warsaw, Shout out to I don't know if his name's public. I can't give him a shout out. But anyway, he looks a bit like me. Anyway, you know who you are. Shout out to him, and another German guy I was like hanging out with. So I tend to like stitch these holidays together, where I might do 3 consecutive trips with 3 different travel buddies.
Yeah.
But you're more with your gang at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah. So I've got a gang of 3 guys. The third guy doesn't really travel, but so it's Richard and Maciek that I do the traveling with. So oftentimes with Maciek, for example, because I've been to Poland, Krakow 8 times, so oftentimes I'll just meet him over there, because Maciek moved out of London in September, so he's been based in Poland. So yeah, I often, I mean, it's kind of similar to you. Often, you know, I meet up with people, but I'm happy to travel on my own as well. I don't mind solo travel, but I would advise guys to not do too much solo traveling, because, you know, we are social creatures. You know, after a while, if you're just on your own, stuck in your head, especially if you've had a really bad run of results, you know, you will probably like start feeling very, very depressed. So it does help to meet up with people, you know, or to travel with someone.
Yeah, so perhaps let's go into a little bit more about one of the perhaps unexpected negatives of foreign travel. So I think there's this, like, I used to have it sort of psychologically. What happens is this is I decide to go on holiday on one of these trips. I'm like all excited and stuff. Woohoo, I'm gonna go to like Zagreb or fucking Prague or wherever it is. I get that excited. I start looking forward to it, you know, pack my bags, find my room. God, I'm gonna like do loads of sets, whatever. And then when I'm flying out in the airport, I'm all very happy about it, you know, I'm reading my little paperback. Then I'll get to my Airbnb apartment, and it's always the same moment, is I put my bags down and I'm like, right, I'm here. I guess I gotta start making shit happen. You know, it's like that moment where I'm really tempted to think, well, why don't I just lie down a bit? I'm a bit tired, or you know, maybe I should just have a coffee first, like ease into the atmosphere. But there's always that moment where you've got that, you know, it's not the dream. You do have to go out there, and you still have to start pushing that boulder up the hill. You know, you've got to start from scratch. And that is fucking hard, especially when you're solo.
I think like starting is always the hardest. For sure, but it depends. I mean, if the place is completely new, I feel more inspired and motivated. I feel less, you know, I feel less of the adrenaline and the rush when I'm returning to a place, you know. I've seen this before, it's not as interesting, you know. And certain places, after a while, you just get sick of them, you know, because you've been there so many times, it's no longer that inspiring.
Well, that's another one of the negatives, right, is Groundhog Day. Because I was just commenting to some guy we met here yesterday, but my apartment is on Creshatic Street, which is like the main street here, and the apartment is right next to the bit of the street which is best for day game. And we actually went to a nightclub the other night, which was 100 meters from the house. We didn't know that because we went in a taxi and went all around, but so, and our favourite cafe where we are here is like 100 meters away. So basically, I've flown all the way from Newcastle to Ukraine, to the capital city of Ukraine, Kiev, which is a fucking massive city. And realistically, especially we found a day 2 venue right next to the apartment. There's like 3 bars next to each other. Basically, we don't need to leave a 100 meter square radius to do everything. Sleep, eat, day games, day 2s, nightclubs. It was like all within 100 meter squared. And so I was like joking, is I've travelled to like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 countries this year. But if you add together the square footage that I've actually spent time on, it's like a mile square. It's something ridiculous like that. So we both travel and get variety, but also we're just doing the same fucking thing every day, walking up and down the same street, going to the same cafe. It is bizarre, isn't it, psychologically?
It is, I'm not sure if I want to do this anymore, Nick.
Just give it up.
Fuck this. Uh, no, it's not too bad. I mean, what obviously what gives us the variety is the girls, really. You know, because you know, you could be walking down the street, pick up a Ukrainian girl, then a Kazakh, and every girl obviously has her own personality, looks different, you know. So that's what ultimately gives us the spice, you know, to keep going.
But you know as well, I think some of it is just obsession. Is again, I think you're a little different to me on this, but I can't get any work done when I travel, like nothing. I mean, I've been blaming the internet in our apartment, but really it's just like I packed my bag and I brought a book, a Dennis Wheatley book, big thick historical adventure story called, what's it called? Fucking The Shadow of Tyburn Tree. Right, anyway, it's like 400 pages, proper book. And I thought, well, I'm going to be on the road for 2.5 weeks. I think I actually considered bringing a second book because I thought I might get through this first book. And you know how many pages I've read in this 10 days in the Ukraine?
0.
Yeah. I've just it's just been sitting there by my bed, haven't opened it. I thought I was going to play some video games. No. Thought I was going to work on my product. I've done about half an hour. Yeah, it's I get this kind of obsessive compulsive thing when I travel, which is completely different when I'm at home.
I'm not. I'm a little bit different. I'm slightly more balanced. I've actually finished the book. I finished Bukowski's Women.
Oh, right, you actually read it.
Yeah. It did take me 3 weeks though.
It took you 1 day back in London, you know, one day sitting in a Soho cafe, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one thing I'm trying to do whilst on travel is to get more of a balance because being on the road, I think my health has suffered. I eat shit.
We haven't been at the gym, have we?
No. So part of me feels like I'm, you know, living the dream, but part of me feels like I'm kind of like rotting in some way.
Well, I call the process hollowing out.
Yeah.
So I always start these trips where I will have had like a couple of weeks in the gym. I will have been eating like my proper diet. This is all back in Newcastle. I've been reading books, playing video games, seeing my family, doing like normal life. And then it's kind of like I get wrenched out of it and come say here or Warsaw where I was last week, and then I just start chasing the girls, and it's just like time stops. You know, it's like for 2 weeks time stops, nothing gets achieved. It's just girls. I'm sitting in a cafe and I'm looking at girls, I'm checking my messages, I'm plotting, or let's say if I'm having a bit of a bad time, I'm like dealing with my approach anxiety or my lethargy. But everything else is squeezed out. There is no room for anything in my life when I travel except the girls. And I keep trying to, you know, continue with the gym, continue with the books, you know, work, but it just doesn't happen. Like,
I was actually shocked in Belgrade when you were saying, yeah, I'm hitting the gym.
That's the only place I've been doing it. I
Really?
found a gym really close. Yeah, like I just never got around to it. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is something else why, like, the way I deal with this is by limiting my trips to usually 2 weeks, and then by the time I start to get hollowed out at the end, you know, like I've started to get a fucking infection in my mouth now, you know. Well, what was it like yesterday? I was lying on I hope the song I've written is ready by the time I put this podcast up, and I'll play it over this, but it was like 3 p.m. yesterday, which was a Sunday. I was lying on my bed, listening to all the sounds of the street. I had a bit of music playing, and I was like fully clothed, my shoes on, just like lying collapsed looking at the ceiling with like a zombie look for like an hour while I was waiting for a girl to show up. And I was just saying to like Eddie, I was like, oh, I'm fucked, I'm all in, I'm done. I was like humming like hillbilly songs to myself, and I was just thinking like, I'm fucked, like I'm done, this is the end of the holiday, all I want to do is go home, play video games. And then what happens? Fucking we go out, I hook, I see a hot girl, fucking hook, then the girl who I'm dating shows up, and then I just spend the next 6 hours walking around Kiev with this fucking lovely girl, full of energy, fucking 6 hour hard on, and yeah, it's like someone had just like give me a line of cocaine, the energy's right back on again. And yeah, but that's what it's like. It's like if you thought day game in your hometown is volatile, wait until you come on a trip, you know, like everything just gets magnified, the ups and downs.
Streets gone dry and the girls won't play. I had a flake date last Saturday. My approaches pile up day after day, and now I'm getting dandruff. Grief and misery, pains and woes, leads and flakes, and so it goes. I think I'm getting a cold in my nose. Game gets tasteless, don't it?
Yeah, because thing is, I guess when you're at home, you've got a lot of other things to fall back on, whatever. Like for me, when I'm at home, I could be doing a lot more editing, making music, all sorts of other things that could distract me if my I don't know, leads aren't.
Yeah, so it's
going
things
anywhere,
where
do you
you're
know what I
not
mean?
just
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
looking at your
exactly,
phone thinking
yeah.
like, I got no reason to be here other
Exactly,
than
yeah,
looking at
yeah.
my phone waiting for leads.
Yeah. I mean, I like music, and I like playing the piano, and that's actually one thing I do miss being on the road, not having a piano to play. It would be great if I could find a portable one. I could just
Got a
roll up.
stylophone.
A what?
A stylophone, like what Rolf Harris had. It was a little stylophone one. Yeah, so like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is nice segue into another one of the problems with this travel is when you travel for girls, right? You're making the whole purpose of your period there, your week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, girls.
Yes.
So you become extremely outcome dependent because, I mean, people always say, look, the mission should be your priority, not girls, right? Girls are the side dish, not the main dish.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you just fly into a European city to hit on girls, well, girls are the main dish. Now you can try and bullshit yourself, like, no, it's about the lifestyle, it's about being
It's
a
about
well-balanced
culture.
man, yeah. But like, go on, I mean, Eddie, how many shops on the street have you been into?
Just one, just to try and find bog roll. That's about it.
Yeah, right, there you go, right? Like, I actually got to see all of Kiev yesterday. I saw the Holodomor
For
Memorial.
the first time, yeah.
Yeah, I saw the that Liberty statue, the tank museum down the river. But the only reason is this girl was taking me around, right? Like for like 10 days, I hadn't seen jack shit. It's like there's no getting around the fact that you are here for the girls. You're not here for anything else. You're not here for the fucking theatre.
Yeah.
And but that means that if you're having a bit of you're sitting in a cafe and you feel a bit of approach anxiety, well, your whole holiday's just crawled to a halt right there. Or let's say you got a bunch of leads and they're not getting back to you, right? Your holidays, you're left hanging on. You're kind of like on tenterhooks. So we've been joking, like we'll meet a girl, say, on the Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. And if, say, on the Saturday at 2 p.m. she's not engaged in furious texting, we're like, what's up with this bitch, because we've got a weird time distortion going on, where what's really up with her is she had like work, she had like her life. Like, just because we've devoted our entire week to chasing women doesn't mean the woman has devoted her entire week to like being chased by us.
Yeah, exactly.
So that, I think, can be very unsettling, is our days seem really long, and you have to really use your mental discipline not to pull too hard. It's real mental discipline to roll off correctly, because rolling off for 48 hours feels like an eternity.
It does, yeah.
When you've got nothing else to do but hit on women.
That actually does require discipline, and I always have to remind myself, okay, fly the plane using logic, not emotion, otherwise we'll just crash the damn thing. The thing is, because most of the time I'm never in a city for longer than a week, there is that pressure, to try and pull something out of the bag.
Yeah, these bitches don't know the timetable we're on.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always nice when you get a lay nice and early on. Some of that pressure is taken off.
Well, you got yours early on, didn't you? Yours was about day 3, day 4.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, here's another. Let's talk about another downside: rage opening. Right. So what happened is I was here a little bit ahead of Eddie because I had a student. I didn't do many sets when I had the student, but I did do a few. I had a few leads going, and then Eddie rolls in, and to be honest, you had quite a slow start, right? It took you a while before you started doing a lot of sets, right? You had your first day or two, you were kind of cherry picking a bit.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
did like 5 sets, I think, in the first day, probably.
So we were I think it was was it the same day? Yeah, we were on this street. Eddie saw a couple of girls he liked, went in, got a couple of numbers, and one of them was day 2,
Yeah.
and the other one was the lay. And but I remember thinking, hopefully we'll put the video clip over. I did get a clip of the girl he banged, and a clip of the other one as well. But that particular day, I think, was one of your better days. You had a bunch of numbers. Like, again, I got some video of this. But yeah, I actually pointed this girl out for him as well. She was walking through. I was like, oh, that looks like one for you, doesn't it? And he was like, yep. Goes in, she fucking loves it, gets the number. It was what, 2 days later the date, or 1 day later?
No, it's just the following day.
The following
I texted
day?
her in the morning, you know, and I set up a 3 o'clock an afternoon date.
Yeah. So I have a date like 1 hour before his date. Mine's like a good girl. She walks me around a bit. It goes well, but she won't kiss close. I finish. I say, Eddie, how was yours? He's like, oh, just banged her. No LMR. And as happy as I was with how my game was going, I was like, fuck, bastard. I want to get laid. I'm getting laid. Fuck this noise. So what happened is I met Eddie for a coffee. He told me about the date. And obviously, you know, it's like, well done, mate. Like, you've just banged a nice girl. Like, so if I was able to put the video over, you will have seen her, right? Like, pretty fucking nice. So then what happened is it started getting a bit dark, and I was just, right, fuck it, I want to get laid. Not like I want to get a number. It was like, fuck it, I want to get laid. I'm not having this. My turn. So you know, I was powered by the day game rage of like your wing getting laid before you do. And I just did 2 super fast eye dates. One of them's on video. I'm not sure about the second one, but fucking hell, you can see the rage open on my face. Again, I'll put the video, but you can see. I mean, I nearly fucked the girl, but it was fucking mesmer. But it wasn't like seducer mesmer. It was like predator mesmer. It was like, fuck this. I'm going balls to the wall.
Yeah. With the rage opener, I noticed that you had a lot more determination in your face, and you were a lot less smiley.
Yeah. But it's funny because so I mean, there's the obvious positive side to this is like your wing success propels you to your own success, but one of the things you'll find when you travel is you've got to be very careful, you and your wings, not to fuck each other up with rivalry. Now I've done that many times, and I'll plug John's new book, Bodhi. He's just written a new book, Death by 1,000 Sluts. I haven't read it yet. I read the first draft a year ago, which was very good. Apparently the current version is very different. But anyway, I think he talks about that of me value tapping him and state leeching him on holiday, where I'm just like drawing state off him to make my own game good. So you got to be careful about that. Like, fortunately, me and Eddie, we don't really have that problem. But every now and then, despite your best efforts, you can't help but compete. You just can't help. You know?
It's just nature.
So you just got to try not to let it get too toxic.
I think it's important to call it out as well. So like with Richard and Magic, they're very honest about certain feelings. If they're not feeling super great, or they're a little bit down, or sometimes a bit of envy or whatever. Calling it out does help a lot. So it doesn't actually escalate into something a lot worse.
Well, one of the skills you develop in game is observe an ego, the ability to stand outside of yourself and identify your emotions and know that the emotions are not you. Because one thing I've noticed, for example, people who are prone to depression become extremely narcissistic during their depressive phases, where their depression consumes them, they navel gaze, and it's as if the whole world is just their depression. And fortunately, I'm not prone to depression. This is other people I've observed. But what I have observed is myself is when I'm feeling a strong emotion, whether it's an exuberance or a negativity, it's very easy to become consumed by that emotion and to just bang on about it, right? Like forgetting that the guy you're with is in his own stressful travel situation with his own leads, his own exuberance, his own pain. So I think one thing that game actually teaches you, because you spend a lot of time in set trying to step outside of the set to monitor the set while you're in the set, right? It does actually teach you that your emotions are not you, that there's a process independent of how you feel, and that you can step out and observe it and do the right thing. So I think it's good to apply that same mentality to managing your experience with your wings. So for example, I was aware a couple of days ago that I was jumping into sets really fast before the two guys I was with were really getting a chance, right? Because my eyesight was a bit sharper and I was just a bit more up for it. So I thought, right, maybe I need to back off a little bit and, you know, like not hog all the sets, because that can be a problem, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, right, well, I think we'll wrap up. It's nearly half an hour. I don't want it to be a marathon one like the last set. So what else do you think are other little psychological issues or logistical issues you think people have to watch for, things that you've learned from this trip? So we've covered a bit about burnout and Groundhog Day, a bit about dealing with your wings, a bit about becoming a bit outcome dependent.
Things to, let me just think about that for a sec. I mean, for me, I think I'm kind of fortunate. I don't really have too many ups and downs. I've got a quite a steady kind of mood most of the time. I'm kind of the opposite of bipolar, you know. In a way, I don't know. Some might think I'm boring, whatever, but I don't give a shit. You know, it means that despite whatever happens, I taught myself how to reframe things into a positive quite quickly. You know, so whatever happens, I might feel the sting for, you know, a few seconds or a minute, whatever, but I'm very quick and I actively force myself to, you know, reframe it into a positive. I mean, you can't reframe everything into a positive, like you're saying, say you find out one of your parents has got cancer, then you're not going to reframe that into a positive. But like things that happen in pickup, there, you know, I just remind myself that it's all trivial. It's not really that much of a big deal, you know.
But does that help like smooth the edges out of the volatility of traveling, right?
Absolutely, and I know that ultimately I'm always potentially just one approach away from meeting a yes girl, you know, or did I mean potentially one approach away from things completely, you know, changing. You know,
well, you
flipping.
saw my mood yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I went from thinking, oh, I'm done for the trip, I just want to go home, to like having the best date of my entire year.
Exactly. So.
You know? All right.
I just remind myself of that, basically. You know?
All right. Let's finish on a little bit of the local fauna. Let's talk about Pesci.
Pesci, yeah.
You tell us what you've seen on the streets once it gets dark. What have we been observing this week?
So Kiev's good, but thing is, one thing I don't like about Kiev is as soon as, you know, the sun goes down, the local, actually they're not local, they're mostly
immigrants,
foreign dudes that come here. The local sex pests come out. They hit the streets, and they're definitely not day gamers. They don't do.
They're not community.
No, they're definitely not in the community. They're not doing anything textbook at all. They're probably they're doing sex pest textbook.
It's
game.
an iPod game, right?
iPod game, meaning you can see they're approaching girls and you know, offering them money in exchange for sex, and there are quite a few of them, and I just don't like the vibe. You know, I don't want to be out in the streets when they're out.
We did see what looked like it was the same day late iPod game. Some fat Turkish dude, remember that?
Yeah, he's about 60, very, very overweight, approaching a girl in her early 20s. She wasn't hot, but still.
She might get day gamed in London, but here, invisible.
Yeah, invisible. Yeah, absolutely.
But what happened? Let's describe, because we stalked the set. We were fascinated.
Yeah, what's happening here? Yeah. So. He did look like he was running quite a good game. Out of all the sex pests, he looked like the smoothest one.
Kino was very interesting, wasn't it? I mean, we couldn't understand a word he said because we were standing away, and it was fuck knows what language he was talking. But he did like the long hand hold. He was touching her upper arms and stuff. The body language was sexual. But what was very interesting is she was okay with it, like she didn't feel harassed, but it was interesting like a lot of these girls who are getting sex pestered, they don't have the like, oh God, how dare you look at me face. They
Like
have
they
the
would
kind
get
of
in
business
London,
negotiation face, don't they?
Yeah.
They were like totally unengaged, like
Yeah.
disengaged, but they were putting up with it.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to like fob these guys off.
It's weird. I mean, I haven't figured out what's happening, but it seems like it's just straight up, like you said, an iPad game where they're offering girls iPads in exchange for sex.
Yeah, because what we saw is it's not like I remember in a nightclub in Belarus, we saw girls standing suspiciously solo, quite hot, suspiciously well made up, and then there'd be a couple of brown guys, like usually Pakistani, would just walk up, chat for about a minute, and then they'd walk off together hand in hand, right? And I dare say we were not thinking, fucking hell, he's got good rapid escalation game, right?
Yeah.
It was obvious what was going on, and I did talk to one of these girls later, and she actually just said, I'm a prostitute. And so it wasn't that we were seeing. What we were seeing, we'd see these like packs of like 4 or 5 brown guys, like whatever, Turkish, Pakistani, Indian, whatever, not local, definitely not local. And they'd be walking up and down the main street, a bit boisterous, eyes wandering all the time, or they might sit on one of the many benches here and look around. So they had that little bit of swagger, the way you get like young lads have when they're like driving their Escort down like Southend Beach, like with the music on, looking out the window, you know, or like, you know, like the Pakistani rape gangs in Sheffield, right? They had a little bit of that vibe about them, and but not menacing, but you could tell it was like predatorial.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to like say to, I mean they're not rape gangs, right? Like but you know, you can see when the guys are out and they're having a bit of a look around, right? You just notice it. It's a different vibe to guys just walking. But then what we'd see is they'd go up to girls, never the hot ones, and start talking, and we wouldn't know what they're saying, but we'd look at it. But it was, the girls would often like fold their arms and lean back and just be like qualifying them. And then would normally see the guys are obviously making some kind of sales pitch, whether it's sales pitch money or it's sales pitch personality, I don't know which. And then you'd see the girls start to gradually nod their head. The guy, and these sets would be very long. They're often like half an hour and stuff. No keno, a lot of space between them. Literally, it's a bit like when you see a guy with like flyers trying to get a girl to come into the hair salon for like the free modelling photos, you know. It had that kind of, there was no mesmer, no distancing. I mean, it wasn't a day game set. We'll try and video one tonight if we can. And but what would happen is the girls would keep talking. They just keep talking, and half an hour later there might be a phone number swapped, or with this other guy who was actually seemed pretty good at it. You just see the girl gradually softening. Now we were thinking he was probably just gradually putting on his money pitch, you know. It's like, oh yeah, I'm staying in such and such a 5-star hotel around there. Oh yeah, I was at this like really good restaurant the other day. You should try it, you know. And then she gradually gets the message, you know. It's that grey area. It's not like the straightforward money transaction that I saw in the nightclubs. I think what it is these guys are just easing them into the money game. Like the indirect money game. And some of these girls, why not? You know, they got fuck all money here. Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was. But
But Pesci was different though, right? Pesci, I think, was trying to run charisma game.
You think so?
I think so, yeah. Did you think it was money? iPod?
No, I think you're right, because he was out every night.
Because he was failing. Because he was getting blown out. He was getting horribly blown out.
Yeah, I'm thinking, do you think Pesci's local?
I think he is. Right, we've got to describe him, right? The reason we're calling Pesci
I think he might be local, actually.
Well, he's white, right?
Yeah, I think
well, we saw this guy, and we first noticed him just because of how he looked. He looked like Joe Pesci in Casino. He's a short guy, bless him, and he's got fucking strongly dyed black hair, right? It might even be a wig, right? But it's really obvious. It looks like, you know, like a guy off a 1970s Fantasy Island fucking commercial or something, right? Really obvious dyed hair and or wig. It's not natural at all. Done in a little bit of an Elvis quiff. He's got like leathery old, like 50-year-old skin, right? He's small, and he's dressed with like leather, like loafers, like snakeskin loafers, with a very flamboyant shirt and like jeans with rips in. So he looks like the like Leisure Suit Larry from the video game. You know, he looks like the archetypal point and laugh kind of 50s lounge rat pickup guy. You know?
Lounge rat, yeah.
And but bless him, we've seen him every night doing sets, every fucking night. I think he even had a student or a wing out at some point, some guy who was following him around who was like slightly less Leisure Suit Larry-ish. So I don't know, do you want to describe what we saw him doing? Because we've seen him in set a couple of times.
I have no idea, to be honest. It's a little bit confusing seeing these guys, the way they just come out like fucking almost like zombies, you know. They only appear at night, you know, and they just snake about. I'd love to know what they're saying to these
We
girls,
were thinking of doing
know?
a secret infield, weren't we?
Yeah,
we
yeah,
were
yeah.
saying we were going to get a directional mic to point at him, and I'd shoot the video, and then we'd release an infield product of him without his knowledge.
Yeah, and I mean, what's bizarre is that if these guys were in London doing the same thing, the sets would last about no longer than 2 seconds. Probably.
They'd be like
you know?
Saturday Sarge sets, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it'll be just blowouts. But here, it's amazing that the girls are actually giving them, you know, plenty of time. You know.
Well, I was talking to a
this
couple of my
spiel.
dates about this, about the sex pest thing, and they said, oh yeah, like a lot of girls just dress up to walk along the street hoping to meet the foreigner of their dreams who will rescue them. You know, like money, right? As in, like, it's a passport game, you know. But I have to say, it's not easy here. You know, it's you need your normal skill.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is all the sex pesting here means that a lot of the girls just expect to be sex pested, right?
Yeah.
Like the girls expect you, I think, to be offering money.
Yeah. Well, do you want to mention your story? What happened at all with the 600?
Oh God, yeah, right, yeah. So this was on my second day here. After I'd finished with a student, I got an eye date with this girl, 18 years old. She was half caste, half Ukrainian, half African, but basically just looked a bit dusky, you know, not black. Anyway, really hot, really hot, my type all over. She was dressed a little bit hip hop. She had like a baseball cap on and like fucking short baggy, like, I don't know, sort of dungarees kind of. But anyway, she was dressed a bit hip hop, like she was a fucking jazz dancer in the back of a fucking hip hop video or something. So anyway, our English wasn't very good, but I bounced her to this cafe where we are right now. This is about, I don't know, 10 p.m. Most of the eye date was run on Google Translate, and it seemed to be going well, you know. She seemed keen, so she was drinking alcohol. Then she bounced me to another bar. Kino was going well. She wouldn't let me kiss her. She was writing on Google Translate, no, I'm not like English girl who come home after 1 hour and all that, you know. But I thought this is going really good. She was like, then our friends were calling and wanted to take her home. She said, look, I gotta go because they got a car. So I said, well, look, like, let's just go back to my apartment. I'll get you a taxi. She's like, no, I'm not like that. Let's meet tomorrow. So I was like, yeah, okay, take the number. So I'm just walking out of that thinking, pretty good eye date. I mean, a lot of eye dates are good and go nowhere, but I thought this has got a good potential. Then, you know, and I was really excited because she was really hot and it was early in the holiday. So yeah, I start messaging her the next day. And she starts telling me, I was like, do you want to meet? She's like, look, I can't. I got a problem with my mum. I need 600 Ukrainian Grivna, which is about £15, £16, something like that. So I was like, okay, good luck with that. And roll off. And then, you know, the next day I was like, hey, how are you doing? She's, oh, I'm a bit better, but, you know, I still need to find 600 Grivna. And it was just weird that she's putting a number on it, right? Not like, oh, I need some money, you know. And I was like, oh, okay, well, look, I can distract you from that. Like, why don't you come out for a drink? She's like, oh, no, I don't need distracted. I need to find 600 Grivna. So Eddie's here at this point reading it. I was like, this is fucking weird, isn't it? So, and yet she totally doesn't look like what you'd think is like a gold digger, you know. She doesn't have the heels, the short skirt, the makeup. You know, like if you think of like Ukrainian gold digger, absolutely not like this. She looked like a fucking street dancer or something, you know. And so then I'm like, look, like what's going on? And I'm saying, Eddie, look, like if she's just asking for 600 Grivna, the fuck, well, I might. I mean, I won't call it a notch, but you know, fuck it, she's really fucking hot, and she's not a whore. Why not? So I message her and I'm like, look, like I don't understand. Are you asking me for money? And then she replies right back, no, actually, I'm okay, I'm going to go and borrow it.
Yeah.
And then a bit later, I'm like, great, I'm glad you didn't ask me. She's like, that's cool, I found my 600 Grivna. And then what, 2 days later in the nightclub, no, I think it's the next day, at 6 a.m. when we're just about to leave this nightclub, I see her outside chatting to her friends. And then I walk past her as I come out the toilet, and I just blank her, it's just silly cow. But so I guess she found her 600 Grivna.
Yeah.
But what a bizarre, and I still don't know what was going on,
Yeah.
Like, is she just a bit weird talking about money?
Yeah.
Did she want the money? She just wanted this grey area where like we pretend like it's not about money. Did she just want money to see me, or was she? I have no idea, but it was
Or
fucking
does she
weird.
want 600 for sex? Who knows?
Yeah, or does she just want me to take her and spend money on it? I have no fucking idea. But anyway, it didn't go anywhere. Like, that's not my thing, right? But
Yeah.
very strange. I said to Eddie after, I was like, it seems like every girl in this town is either a gold digging whore or a village virgin, and that there's like nothing in between,
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we'll wrap up on that because this is nearly 45 minutes in the raw version. So yeah, my thoughts on Ukraine. I like it. It's nice, but it ain't pussy paradise, is it?
No. If you think that you can just come to Kiev and just be a foreign dude, the girls are going to jump on you. No, it's not going to happen.
Not for free.
No.
I mean, I haven't got laid here. You got laid once.
Yeah.
My student laid a milfy girl, but yeah, it's not. There's quality, but it's a little bit like. The quality's a little bit like if you go and watch, say, a Victoria's Secret show, right? You have like hot girls, scantily dressed, walking past you, but you're no closer to fucking them than if you were like 1,000 miles away.
Yeah. So if you don't have game back home, then it won't make a difference, if you're here. So unless you're willing to pay. And,
if you want to do iPod game, if you're willing to do iPod game, it's all right. But other than that, it's just a normal city. Quality's good, but it's just a normal city.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that was our little travel podcast. Cheers, Eddie.
Cool.